Tonight, the crippling consequences of two critical Canadian ports shut down. The labor impasse, financial fallout.
These vessels are stuck in port. They will stay there until the conflict is resolved.
And the downside for consumers as holiday shopping season ramps up. The Donald Trump loyalists named to his inner circle, and the man in charge of executing a signature campaign pledge.
America is for Americans and Americans only.
New concerns about U.S. cuts to support for Ukraine as Russia masses troops for a fresh offensive. The harrowing moments a plane gets pelted by a barrage of bullets, diverting a landing in Haiti.
Gunfire could have brought the airplane down.
Plus, cherishing the lasting legacy of Christine Sinclair. And saluting the selfless sacrifice of brave men and women. Reflecting on the past and examining Canada's military recruitment challenges of the present.
We need people seeing themselves in the military.
CTV National News with Omar Sachedina.
Good evening, everyone. Businesses and shoppers across Canada are bracing for the economic impact tonight of twin shutdowns at Canada's two largest ports. Hundreds of dock workers in Montreal have been locked out, joining workers in Vancouver who've now been locked out for a week. Both cities handling more than $1 billion in freight per day. The labor disruptions could cause chaos to Canada's supply chain just ahead of the busy holiday period. CTV's Quebec Bureau Chief Geneviève Beauchemin on what's at stake.
Containers are piling up at the Port of Montreal, each one a missing piece of the Canadian economy, says the Port Authority.
These vessels are stuck in port. They will stay there until the conflict is resolved. And we have other vessels that are anchored in Escomin, and we have over 22 vessels underway that are looking at where are they going to unload or load.
With talks at an impasse, 1,200 dock workers were locked out. The union says scheduling is a main sticking point.
We have made numerous offers to sit down, but they refuse to respect our right to collective negotiation.
More than $400 million of goods flow through daily, and only some essential cargo like wheat are still moving.
The Port of Montreal is actually the second largest port in Canada after the Port of Vancouver, and workers there have been off the job for a week.
Both sides of the country at a near standstill, and a potential strike at Canada Post pose a triple threat to businesses and consumers. This as the busiest time of the year, the holiday season, looms. Nearly $6 billion worth of goods were expected to flow through the Port of Montreal over the next 2 weeks. Among them, fine wines and spirits destined for the shelves of Quebec's Liquor Commission. Shipments have been redirected to Halifax for now, but popular products could quickly run out. Small businesses are most likely to feel the pinch.
One of the lady that we've met, she has a business that all of her money is done, or all of her revenue is done during the Christmas season. It will cost her over 20% more, eating all of her margin for her to do her business this year. It's unacceptable.
Some business groups are asking the federal labor minister to step in as Canada's supply chain is once again disrupted. Geneviève Beauchemin, CTV News, Montreal.
Canada's manufacturers and exporters say the timing of the disruption is challenging because it's happening right after the U.S. election, when Canada needs to be seen as a reliable trading partner. Today, Donald Trump revealed some names of who will fill key positions in his cabinet, including the man now responsible for carrying out one of Trump's more controversial campaign pledges. And there are reports tonight he's set to name Florida Senator Marco Rubio as the Secretary of State. Here's CTV's Washington Bureau Chief Joy Malbin.
I, Donald John Trump.
When Donald Trump takes the oath of office a second time, he plans to carry out the largest mass deportation of illegal immigrants in U.S. history. And Trump loyalist Stephen Miller is back. The architect of Trump's hardline immigration policies, including the Muslim ban, is expected to be named Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy.
The criminal migrants are gone. The gangs are gone. America is for Americans and Americans only.
The man in charge, Tom Homan, named Border Czar, pledging to deport criminals first. The former acting director of Immigration and Customs Enforcement delivered this warning morning at the Republican convention.
To the millions of illegal aliens that Joe Biden's releasing our country in violation of federal law, you better start packing now.
And when asked about that controversial policy separating children from migrant parents, could there be a way to avoid that this time?
Of course there is. Families can be deported together.
As many brace for what's next, Trump's immigration picks do not need congressional approval.
Whether there's going to be that sufficient pushback and will to stop what would be a very cruel exercise in federal policy, and I think ultimately decimate the American economy if it's carried out.
Two more choices. Trump loyalist Elise Stefanik named UN ambassador, and former New York Congressman Lee Zeldin expected to roll back Democratic climate change regulations when he takes over the Environmental Protection Agency.
President Joe Biden meets with Donald Trump in Washington Wednesday, a tradition to show the world there will be a peaceful transfer of power. Melania Trump has indicated she will not attend. Omar?
All right, Joy, thank you. Well, as Joy mentioned, Trump also revealed his point person on the environment, who is pledging to overturn several Biden-era policies. The impact of that move is top of mind for delegates at the UN's annual climate summit, now underway in Azerbaijan.
2024 is on track to become the hottest year ever recorded, and last year, global greenhouse gas emissions reached an all-time high.
Climate activist Greta Thunberg among those who attended a rally in neighboring Georgia today. Demonstrators say Azerbaijan doesn't deserve to host the conference because it relies on the sale of oil and gas to power its economy. Back here at home today was about the power of remembrance, honoring the service and sacrifice of the men and women who fought for Canada's freedom. The average age of the country's Second World War vets is now 96. Some of the last living links to a history that has shaped who we are. Here's CTV's Rachel Aiello.
Canadians from coast to coast to coast paused today, paying tribute to the sacrifice and courage of those who have served in the armed forces.
At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
Governor General Mary Simon and Prime Minister Justin Trudeau were among the thousands who paid their respects at the National Commemoration in Ottawa. There, this year's Silver Cross mother Maureen Anderson honored her two sons who died, placing a wreath on behalf of all who have lost a child in military service. Across Canada, at cenotaphs, cemeteries, and war memorials, loved ones were remembered. From Halifax, where the national anthem rang out through the rain, to Barrie, where a powerful poem written by a 14-year-old and read by a veteran moved the crowd.
These men live on forever in the hearts of those they saved, a nation truly grateful for the path of peace they paved.
In Edmonton, in Flanders Fields and a prayer were read.
From conflicts, we've learned the powers of love.
And in Montreal, the freedoms Canadians cherish today were top of mind.
They signed on the dotted line with their lives for us. We cannot forget.
As the nation honored Canada's war dead, it was also a moment to reflect on the state of supports for veterans, as well as the military's current capabilities.
We are definitely organizing to ensure that we develop the capabilities that we will need in the next couple of years and for the future as well.
Veterans Affairs estimates that just 7,300 Canadians who served in the Second World War and the Korean War are still living. A reminder of what Remembrance Day is all about. Omar?
Rachel Aiello at the National War Memorial in Ottawa tonight. In the U.S., President Joe Biden delivered his final Veterans Day address as Commander-in-Chief.
It's been the greatest honor of my life to lead you, to serve you, to care for you, to defend you, just as you defended us.
The speech comes less than a week after Donald Trump became president-elect. Biden called on Americans to come together as a nation. He and Vice President Kamala Harris laid a wreath at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier at Arlington National Cemetery, the first time the pair has appeared together since the election. In Paris, French President Emmanuel Macron was joined by British Prime Minister Keir Starmer to mark Armistice Day. The pair laid flowers at the tomb of the unknown soldier. Starmer is the first leader to join the ceremony in France since Winston Churchill did 80 years ago. Turning now to two major conflicts underway, starting with the Middle East. Israel intercepted dozens of rockets launched from Lebanon today. 4 people were injured in a direct hit, sparking this fire in a suburb in the north, according to Israeli officials. In Gaza, Palestinian medics said Israeli military strikes had killed at least 30 people since last night. Israel has not commented on the violence. As the death toll climbs, leaders of the Muslim and Arab world are gathering for an emergency summit in Saudi Arabia to discuss how to end the violence in Gaza and Lebanon. And leaders around the world are closely watching the moves of Donald Trump, who has threatened to cut aid to Ukraine. Tonight, tensions are escalating in that war as Russia masses troops for a major offensive against the country, as the Kremlin refutes reports of a crucial phone call. Here's CTV's Heather Wright.
Ukraine released this drone footage today showing a number of strikes on Russian troops in Kursk. It's Russian territory that was taken by Ukraine this past summer, and one that Russia is aiming to reclaim with tens of thousands of troops, including some from North Korea now assembled along the border. Russia's push comes as both sides exchanged waves of drone attacks. At least 8 people were killed in Ukraine overnight, while Moscow was attacked with 34 drones on Sunday, the biggest drone strike on the Russian capital since the war began. This wave of attacks comes as the Washington Post reported that U.S. President-elect Donald Trump spoke to the Russian president and told him not to escalate the war any further, a conversation the Kremlin has denied. It is completely untrue, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov told reporters. It is pure fiction. Trump's team says they do not comment on private calls between the president and other world leaders. The future of U.S. support for Ukraine remains unclear following Trump's re-election. Some believe Russia may be rushing to take back Kursk, with the prospect of a U.S. negotiated truce on the table.
I think there is an opportunity here to end this in some shape or form.
Retired Major General David Fraser believes any future ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine will mean Ukraine gives up territory it has lost.
This is not going to be resolved to the benefit of Ukrainians or the West. This is just a bad end to a bad story, and it will give opportunities for other despots around the world to do something similar.
Trump has said he would be able to end this war before taking office. Kursk would be a major bargaining chip for Ukraine in any ceasefire negotiation if they're able to hang on to it. Omar.
All right, Heather, thanks. Terrifying moments on board a Spirit Airlines flight en route to Haiti's capital after gangs on the ground opened fire on the aircraft as it tried to land.
I heard clock, clock, clock. We recognized the noise as being gunshots.
Video from inside the cabin shows bullet holes from the plane, which was coming in from Fort Lauderdale. It was forced to divert to the Dominican Republic. Haiti's international airport has since shut down. Gang violence has gripped the country for years. A team of storm experts has confirmed the aftermath of a powerful tornado that swept through Fergus, Ontario last night.
We were sitting watching TV, and all of a sudden you could hear the thunder, and then the wind just picked up, and it was probably the strongest wind I've ever seen in my life.
Jay Price says he didn't feel an impact, but was surprised to see a tree had fallen near his son's window. Fire crews responded to multiple calls during the storm, but they say the impact of the damage was minor. Coming up, Canada's first potential case of bird flu.
The concerning issue is that we know that this is an infection that has potentially lethal consequences.
The teenage patient and where the case was discovered. Plus, the last time on the pitch for a Canadian soccer legend, Christine Sinclair's sporting legacy. The investigation continues tonight into how a BC teenager was exposed to bird flu. It was detected over the weekend and is believed to be Canada's first presumptive case. CTV's Alison Bamford about what we know so far and the risk to the public.
The source of infection unknown at the moment, as a teenager in BC's Children's Hospital is treated for a presumptive case of H5N1, the first in the country.
One of the things that I think is a relatively large area of uncertainty for us right now is how severe this virus is in young people.
The case comes as BC sees a surge in poultry infections, at least 22 recorded on farms since the start of October. South of the border, the U.S. has confirmed 46 human cases of H5 bird flu this year. The source of exposure, poultry or dairy cattle in all cases. Those symptoms ranging from cough, fatigue, and shortness of breath to redness and swelling in the eyes.
The vast majority of those cases have been on the milder end of the spectrum.
But there's concern. The virus has pandemic potential, doctors say, if it starts spreading between humans.
We know that this is an infection that has potentially lethal consequences. It's known to be a very serious infection.
Avian influenza in humans has been tracked for the last 20 years, with fatality rates higher than 50%. But doctors say that should be interpreted with caution.
We always overestimate mortality because we don't do a good job at detecting less severe cases.
So far, there's no evidence of person-to-person transmission in any of the H5N1 cases globally. Health officials say the risk to the general public remains low, but we could see more cases, at least among birds, as we enter migration season. Allison Bamford, CTV News, Saskatoon.
Still ahead. A final send-off for Christine Sinclair as she leaves the pitch for the last time. A Canadian legend has left the beautiful game. Soccer star Christine Sinclair racked up a record-breaking career with one of her biggest goals, passing down a lasting legacy for future generations. Here's CTV's Paul Hollingsworth.
As Christine Sinclair left Sunday's game with the Portland Thorns, it brought the curtain down on a stellar career that saw her reach soccer stardom, not only in Canada but across the globe. There has been an outpouring of reaction from Sinclair's teammates and fellow players for her contributions both on and off the field.
Your humility, but also your professionalism with me forever.
Most importantly, for who you are, you've inspired so many. You've inspired the next generation.
At 41 years old, Sinclair's soccer accomplishments include an Olympic gold medal, 2 bronze medals, the Olympic Golden Boot as the tournament's leading goal scorer, the 2012 Lou Marsh Award winner as Canada's top athlete, and she was a 14-time winner of Canada's Soccer Player of the Year award.
It is very difficult to encompass her career now spanning 25 years and all that she's done for soccer, not only in Canada, but worldwide.
Sinclair also scored 190 goals while competing for Canada. That's the most goals in international play for both male and female soccer players.
It's going to be a record, I think, that will stand for quite a while.
During her decade-long stint with Portland, Sinclair led her team to 3 National Women's Soccer League titles. At the peak of her popularity, the former Team Canada captain was such a household name, she even had a Barbie doll modeled after her.
When I first saw it, I was like, holy moly, that's me.
A fitting tribute for a Canadian legend who plans on staying close to women's soccer and help it grow even more in her home country. Paul Hollingsworth, CTV News, Halifax.
An inspiration. After the break, the struggle to recruit the future of Canada's armed forces. Today is a day we reflect, but those reflections on the past are also inspiring conversations about the future of Canada's military. CTV's Heather Butts explains.
A new day, a new task for Private Charlotte Schnubb. And new is a constant theme here. She worked on cars as a teenager, but only now in her 30s is making a career of it in the military.
The teamwork, the camaraderie, the stability that the military provides, it was kind of a no-brainer.
The mother of 5 left her role as a medical assistant in a doctor's office for a career with the Canadian Armed Forces.
I figured if I'm going to start somewhere and learn something brand new, I'm going to do it in a career that I have no idea about.
The training offered by the military is part of why she signed up. Private Schnubb immigrated from the UK as a young child, but only received her citizenship a few years ago, then enlisted in 2022. Patriotism also a driving force behind her decision to be part of this next generation.
I believe in this country. I believe in what we do here. And as a vehicle tech, I'm really excited to be able to provide support for the CAF in general.
A motto that at one time had more people lining up to enlist. Now the military struggles to significantly increase its numbers, faced with challenges in recruitment and retention. The regular force is nearly 64,000. That's more than 7,000 short of what's authorized. Add to that the shortfall in reservists, and the military is roughly 15,000 off its target.
The Chief of Defense Staff is absolutely seized on this. She has convened a working group. She meets with all the key players in recruiting, attractions, training, and retention. It is probably the largest challenge facing us right now. There are challenges to the international rules-based order, no matter where you look across the world right now. And it's a dangerous time. And I believe that the Canadian Armed Forces are up to the task, but we need to be filled with people in order to really execute on those tasks.
The Armed Forces has tried to modernize its recruitment process, evolving dress requirements and fostering more inclusiveness. At the same time, committing to overhauling the military culture and better the response to sexual misconduct allegations. Building back its force size is a priority as it seeks a wider audience of prospective members.
This is for you.
New recruitment ideas like the Naval Experience Program, a year of training with no strings attached, is showing success. The Navy recently toured communities throughout the Great Lakes to help people envision this career and lifestyle.
It's a complex problem, so a multivariable problem, if you will. We need people seeing themselves in the military. We need to do a much, much better job of attracting and recruiting them, so signing them up to the military. We need to do better at training them.
Private Schnubb already had the benefit of understanding a military lifestyle. Her husband has been a member for roughly 15 years.
What do you feel when you put on the uniform? I'm super proud to wear this uniform. Yeah, super, super proud. I didn't realize the impact it was going to have on me.
That pride helping to fill a crucial role as the military tries to build for the future. Heather Butts, CTV News, Toronto.
And that's a snapshot of this Remembrance Day Monday. For all of us at CTV National News, thank you for watching. Good night, and see you tomorrow.